Welcome to Let's Talk About It. A podcast gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Please subscribe, like, comment, enjoy this journey, and enjoy this ride. Welcome to this week's episode. All righty. Welcome, everybody, to Let's Talk About It. A podcast gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Before I bring on my special guest, which means the world to me, I would like to thank the subscribers I have now that I'm building. I want you to keep on liking, subscribing, giving comments. I need all that. Put me in a different algorithm. I am almost at my goal. I am over 9,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. Please keep on subscribing. Please keep on liking. I'm trying to get to 10,000. I'm giving a special prize away for that. But I cannot wait no more because I'm very, very excited about my guest today. She is back from episode 1 and a recap. Her name is Tammy Lyn Connors. Now, before I bring her on, she is the person who solely got me into podcasting and saved my life. So we go talk about that plus other things. Tammy Lyn, how are you doing, honey?
I am great, Lou. How are you today?
I love you. I love you. Now, if you don't know, she was my first guest ever. Go back on the episode. She's my number one guest because how we first met was actually on TikTok. I was going through things with my daughter. She passed away. Tammy is a podcaster. She has a podcast called Hope, helping other people evolve. And we're going to talk about that today solely. It's about her journey, how she got to have her own podcast. It's a great, stupendous podcast. She has great stories on there, guys. Seriously, we're going to get into that today. Now, how I met Tammy was I made a post about my daughter and she reached out. And she wanted me to come on her podcast, Hope, helping other people evolve, to talk about my daughter because I lost her for overdose. No, it was from cocaine. It was laced with fentanyl. It's been going on 2 years now. Her anniversary is coming up, October 21st. Wow, it just hit me, right? Just hit me right there. Wow, my bad. Wow, yeah, you're right. Just hit me.
Okay.
That anniversary coming up, and I'm bringing on a person who put me on. I am so happy about this. And when she brought me on, ladies and gentlemen, like I was scared, I was nervous, I didn't want to really do it. I've told her this story before, uh, but she made me feel comfortable. I told her that 1,000 times. She does make you feel comfortable. And I call her my diamond for a reason. Like they say, diamonds are forever. She is my diamond. When I came on there, I felt so comfortable. And that was like the first time I really, really got into talking about my daughter with her story. So I wanted to bring her back on. I mean, well, first of all, I brought her on my podcast. She was my first ever guest because she inspired me to become a podcaster, which I am so grateful for. Exactly. And she is the best person ever. I learned a lot from her. She was my first guest. I had to bring her back on. First and foremost, Tammy, how is your day today?
My day has been great today. Our weather here in Northwest Ohio is a little gloomy, which it's coming up to that season, so that's always a little hard for me. I like sunshine, but I've had a great day. I have a great day. I mean, Lou, when I wake up, I'm grateful that I got to wake up, and I'm just going to go make it the best day possible no matter what. That's just who I am.
Now that's funny because the first time we got on, the first episode was on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it was a gloomy day that day too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was because it was like after October, like beginning of November or something like that. We talked.
Yeah.
Gloomy because Ohio is gloomy. That's the problem here.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get into this show. I want to talk about Hope, her podcast. But we're gonna do a little background story for this, right? For people who watched episode 1, you can go back to episode 1 and look at that. But now we're gonna update this here. But I want Tammy to talk about her journey to how where she got to bring out her amazing podcast, which has saved a lot of people's lives, minds, and have influenced a lot of people up and down. We've talked about this many, many times. Let's go by your journey from your beginning, your ups and downs to get to this point here.
Oh. So are we going way back, way back?
Well, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
This episode's about you.
Okay, so a little bit about like my background from years ago. I grew up in an alcoholic domestic violence home. My dad passed away at 34 years young from alcoholism. He drowned in our bathtub. I was 13 years old. I was just talking about this the other day, and I was like, I will never become that alcoholic because I know what happens. You're gonna die. You're gonna be an insane person, or you're gonna end up in prison. Well, I ended up an alcoholic and almost died. Throughout the years, I lived it the same. I left when I was old enough to really be in a relationship. My children's sperm donor, as I call him. Sorry, that's a fact. Anyway,
Go ahead. Sorry.
he was an alcoholic, crack addict, very abusive. I went through all of that with him and thought I was going to change him. And for years, I really thought I could. And I finally had left him. And eventually, ended up just my son and I. My son was 8 years old at that time. In 1992, back up a little bit too, I did lose my other son. He was 6.5 months old, and he died from SIDS. I walked in his bedroom, and he was blue. And I lived with that guilt for a long time of, if I would have walked in his room 5 minutes earlier, would my CPR have saved him? And I lived with that guilt for a long time. And I'm sure that kind of added to all of my addiction through alcoholism and everything else, having that in your head, if I would have only, and you can relate to that, right? We're
Yes.
like, if we would have only made that phone call, and I've lost a lot of people since then. And there's always that, if I only would have, but honestly, it doesn't work like that,
Yes.
And I've accepted the fact that if I would have walked in the room 5 minutes earlier, it probably still wouldn't have been any good. So throughout the years, so from the time my son was 4, my older son Chad, till now, it's always been just him and I. And I became a full-fledged alcoholic. I partied a lot at a young age, smoked all the things, but I never had alcoholism hit me hard until around, I say, 1996, 97. And that's when I started hanging around a lot of people that drank a lot. So we were always constantly drinking. My son would be at my mom's a lot, or his other grandparents. And I'd go like to NASCAR races and all this partying, always having fun, right? And then I got a job at a golf course that all day long, I was the manager. I was there 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And I was a very functioning alcoholic. So I drank all the time at work. Well, it came to the point, I had pancreatitis probably 2 to 3 times throughout 1997 to 2004. Towards the end of my drinking career, as I want to call it, I was very sick. I was in and out of hospitals. I was like my dad, and I even told my doctor, who was my dad's doctor, like, I'm just like my dad, which we never knew what was actually wrong with my dad. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, not like your dad. I'm like, well, I'm in the hospital like him. But nobody ever told me to quit drinking, Lou, which is the most craziest thing ever. I shouldn't say nobody ever. One time a doctor said in 2000, you should probably lay off drinking for a few months. And I did. 3 months, I didn't drink. I had O'Doul's. I was good. And I felt good. And then I started all over again. And
Wait, Tammy, you know what? I've heard you before, right?
yeah.
So you mean to tell me nobody said anything to you at all, or like even friends, or even like the bartender or anything?
Well, no, the friends, they all drank like I did. So no, no, they wouldn't say anything. They're my friends. We all drank together, So it's funny that you say that, because when I did quit, a lot of my friends were like, well, you're not that bad. We all drink together all the time like that. And I'm looking at them like, well, maybe you have a problem, because we just all drank together. So no, nobody ever said anything to me about it. No. I mean,
Wow.
very end, yes, then it came more like people were more concerned, because I became very, very, very sick. I weighed 85 pounds. I was in and out of the hospital, but still, it was never said to me until I think it was January of 2004. I was going on a cruise with my son and my friend and her 2 kids, and they had to drop me off at a hospital in Kentucky because I was so sick and leave me there and go on to the cruise. I remember I had to call the cruise. I had to call because my son was going with other people instead of his mother, and they were going out of the country. And then I had a friend come pick me up, and that is when they told me at that time, your liver enzymes are elevated. But that was it. That's all they said. So that was.
Tim, I'm familiar by you. Let me ask you something, right? So when you heard that from the doctor, because I never asked you this question,
Mhm.
when you heard that from the doctor, do you remember what was going through your mind at that point there?
Not at all. I going through my mind at that point, all was I just need another drink. And it's so
Right.
horrible to say that, but because I was so sick, I was detoxing. And so I was so sick. I never thought to myself that I was probably going to die if I didn't quit. Honestly.
Got it. Okay.
I
All
never
right.
I just kept drinking. I knew I was so sick, and I knew I was an alcoholic at that point because there was days when I would be in my bathroom and all I would have was some Listerine in there, and I made sure I had Listerine in my house because I would drink a shot of Listerine to get me to the store if I didn't have alcohol. And I looked in the mirror and I knew that I was an alcoholic at that point. But at that point, I was so physically and mentally addicted that it didn't matter anymore. I just had to have that drink in order to quit shaking, in order to not be puking. It was so bad at the end there. And so, long story short, I ended up getting fired from my job. I went a Saturday at work. I was working. I always, like I said, I drank at work. I got off work and then I went downstairs in the basement and worked to party with everybody. I got very, very drunk. My blood alcohol was 0.399, which
Yeah.
wants to research that. I probably should have been dead that night or went into seizures or something.
Mm.
They took me to a hospital. They IV'd me, got me hydrated, sent me home with a yellow piece of paper that said, refrain from drinking alcohol. Blood alcohol level 0.399. Now, I weighed 85 pounds at that time. My eyes were like, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody that's an addict or alcoholic where they get
Yeah.
that film, but their eyes are kind of bloodshot, but it's yellowish. That's the way my eyes were. And
Woo.
then they sent me home. Well, I wasn't going to go to my mom's because she didn't have alcohol there. If they did, it was locked up because they knew I'd drink it. I wasn't going to go home because I didn't have any there. So I went to a friend's house who I knew had booze there because I was detoxing and I was sick. So I drank that whole night until the next day when I went to work. And that was on March 8th of 2004. I went to work and it was a complete shit show, let me tell you. I was trying to write orders. The regular customers were like, what is the matter with her? I ended up leaving. I don't know how I got home or anything, but the next morning I woke up to being fired from my job. And that was on March 9th of 2004. Now, for me, and everybody says you have to quit for you, right? That's what they
Yeah.
say. You have to
Yeah.
quit. I did not quit for me. And that's the God's honest truth. I quit because my son was in that other room and I was going to die if I didn't quit. I didn't care if I died. I felt hopeless, worthless, everything. There was nothing about me that I liked. I loved nothing. But I loved that boy so much that I did not want him to ever find me like I found my dad. So that morning when I got fired, I knew that right then is when God said, you have to stop this or your son is going to find you like that. And Lou, I'm a big believer in God and his divine intervention. And I laid on the floor and I screamed and I cried and I begged him to please help me. And I know he said to me, Tammy, I put the right people in your life right now to
Yeah.
help you through this. And he had put some amazing people in my life that I still thank him for. And I thank every one of them every year of my sobriety and other times throughout the year just for being in my life and still being my life 20 and a half years later. Right. So 20 and a half years later, these people are like you, my friend, right? People that I can always count on and that you can always count on. Like, you know that you can always count on me. And I have those people in my life, and we need those people in our lives. You know, we're going to have people come and go in our life, but we have some people that will never go in our life, you know?
I love that. So you went through all that, and then you finally said, "This is it," right? Because you had people to support you, and I know how where it went. But let me ask you something here. If you can you foot? So when you went through that, can you spot that now when you talk to when you see somebody out there like going through that now? Like when you're walking back, you can tell an alcoholic or something like that by signs or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can. I could probably I know at least 4 people right now that I know are practicing alcoholics that are very functioning, and it's they think that nobody knows and maybe nobody else does see it, but I see it because I know. Because I
Have
was
you have you addressed them? Have you like said anything to them?
No, there was one guy that I wish I would have. This was years ago, and I worked at a factory, and I was a receptionist, and he was a salesperson. And he used to always leave. He'd have to go to the post office. He'd have to go here. He'd have to go here. And I was like, man, I really think he drinks all the time, but he's very functioning. And he did end up passing away from his liver from alcoholism. Like it's been about 10 years ago, but at that same time, but honestly, I could say something to that person, and until they're ready, it's just, you know, and people know that I'm here to help, and I'll say that. And there's been younger people, I would say, like some younger kids that I've talked to that I'm like, hey, I kind of see you going this way, maybe you need to direct a little bit this way. But,
Okay.
you know, yeah.
So how'd you get to your sobriety part?
So that was the day I got sober was that morning. And I made that decision that day. I knew that if I ever drink again, I will be right back where I was because I've
Okay.
seen it happen. I had an uncle that was sober for 15 years and picked up a beer, and he was right back to where he was 15 years before, you know? And so I know that for a fact. I have no desire in my soul to ever drink again, but I know for a fact somebody will be like, well, do you think you can have a glass of wine? I'm like, why would I ever risk that? Because I don't ever want to go back to where I was. I remember how sick I was. I remember the things that I was doing to just hide drinking, you know? And I no, never would I go back to that again.
I can tell you, I know you. We have talked many times about sobriety because it's like I know you just had your anniversary date. I think it's 23, 22 years.
20,
No, I'm sorry. No.
20, 20,
20 years. 20 years.
20 and a half now.
20 and a half years sobriety. Now, I can say here, I had to look up that because, I want to know what it meant. It says the condition of a person addicted to alcohol or some other mood altering substance who successfully abstains from its use or adopting or as an overlook of life. That's the technical term for it.
Mhm.
What is your term for sobriety?
My term for sobriety is abstinence from anything that's mind altering or alcohol. That's mine. Now, there's people out there that will say, let's just say that heroin's their drug of choice, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody will tell you their drug of choice. And then they drink, right? And they're like, yeah, but alcohol wasn't my drug of choice. I look at them like, you're an alcoholic. Look at you, right? And this is my example that I use. And everybody on here, this is just my opinion on it all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my drug of choice was alcohol, right?
Got it.
That doesn't mean that I can go out and start smoking crack and saying, well, that's not my drug of choice, but now I'm addicted to crack, right?
Oh my God.
It's my drink to you. And especially as an addict, you're going to become addicted to it, period, whatever it is. So it's just how our brains are, they're wired different, and if you're not an alcoholic or an addict, you don't understand how that can grab you like that. But it certainly can. And I know that if I ever take another drink, like I said, I'll be right back to where I was. And I would never want to do that again.
Now, before I get into your, till we get to, before we get into Hope, which
Mhm.
is that's your baby. The sobriety part for 20 years. Like, do you have any secrets or like how hard was that? Because you love to dance. You
Right.
love to get out there. You like to cut a rug, like you getting it in, like you. I mean, your dance all the way to your back and feet is hurting, right? And your dance at bars and stuff like that. But like like places where they have serve alcohol, and you'll have the ups and down days. Like, tell me, like, navigate me through that. Like, how hard was that? And like, is it your faith? Is it your determination? Like, walk me through that because a lot of people talk about sobriety, but I want you to walk me through it. But before you do that, you know, the facts I learned about this, the percentage of alcoholics who recover and stay sober is 35.9%.
Wow. I didn't know that.
34, that's right, 35.9%. This is since 2015.
Wow.
So there's a lot of alcoholics out there. I'll get into the other stats later on, but I'll give you a quick one. There are 20.7 million women who's going through sobriety right now.
Hmm. Wow.
20.7, right? That's 14.3%, right? Going to sobriety. Out of that, only 35, and this is men too, 35.9 has made it through.
Hmm. Wow.
So, what are your secrets? Because you went 20 and a half years, you're out and about, dancing like crazy. I'm telling you, my girl, you got to do your own little dancing. You got to do a dancing channel. That's what you got to do. But how did you do it? Because I think people will want to know, how did you go about that from being how where you was for 20 years straight? How'd you do it?
Well, so for me, one thing about me is ever since I was a little tyke, I've always been a social butterfly. Okay. And I know you see that, right? I'm a
Yeah.
social butterfly. I love people. I love just being out and about and loving people and just being, right? I'm not a homebody at all. And
No.
so when I just did a podcast actually on my own the other day, my own little, like, 58 years of what I've learned, or 59 years of what I've learned in life. And so when I quit drinking, at first, I went to AA meetings 3 times a day for 6 weeks. I had to occupy my time because when you quit something like that, that bottle of vodka was my best friend. That was my best friend in the whole entire world. Was that?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it kept me secure. It masked me. It did all the things for me that I needed as a friend.
Mhm.
So after I got through that 6 weeks and just started living life, I got a job because I didn't work for 6 weeks. Like, there's so much, and definitely God is all in everything that I've done, right? For six
Got
weeks,
it.
no job. I borrowed $500 from my ex-mother-in-law. That's all I had.
Damn.
I still made it through. So I got a job at a restaurant that didn't serve alcohol, which was great. And then I started doing a few more things here and there, and then like the next year, and I don't know if I recommend this, and it's all about what you do and how you feel, right?
Yeah.
Want to still be the social butterfly that I am. And my friends were all going to a regatta that we used to go to, this big boat party, right? And I used to get shit faced at this boat party every time. I mean, many times I fell in the water off the dock. I mean, that's what I would do. And
Hold on, man. What? You never told me that. What?
listen, me and boat docks do not have a good relationship, even sober now. We just don't have a relationship.
Even sober you
Uh,
fell?
I it's just like the silly fear I have now, and I always kind of miss it. But anyways, yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
walked off many times. But so I go to this regatta, and I'm the DD for my friends that I used to party with,
Yeah.
and I stood there and I had the most boring time. Like, I'm like, this is stupid. They're all drinking, having fun, dancing, and I'm just standing here like I can't. In my head, I still can't dance because I haven't had 3 shots and a beer.
Yeah.
And so I left there and I really contemplated the next day. And I'm a big one on wherever you go, it's up to you to have a good time. It has nothing to do with who you're with or anything like that. If you don't have a nice time, it's your own damn fault. Figure out a way to have a good time. You can sit there and be bored as can be on a boat with a bunch of people, or you can be the life of the party and just have fun. So the next day I was like, well, I had the worst time, but why did I have a bad time? And it was like, because I was looking at what everybody else was doing. I wasn't thinking about I was on a poor me, which I'm not usually a poor me person, but at that day I was. And so I thought, you know what? Next time someone asks me to do something like that, I'm just going to go and dance. Who cares? And at the end of the day, in my head, because of course I didn't think I could dance without drinking, I was like, they're all they don't care that I'm dancing, and they're all drunk. They're not even going to know how I'm dancing, right? And so
Yeah.
I kind of started like going out and dancing a little bit more and having more fun like that, I guess. When I learned that I didn't care if anybody was watching, I learned that dancing, I love dancing and it's so good for my soul. So now I just go, I go all the, well, you know, I go all the time dancing. But like I said, I'm 20 and a half years sober too. So even then, it was probably 2 years before I actually went out dancing, and I didn't do it a lot, right? I would just do it once in a while for New Year's Eve or just little times like that, you know.
Yeah.
For now, sometimes I'll go out on Fridays, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday dancing.
Girl, you
But,
out 7 days a week. Tell the truth. Come on.
but if I could find someplace that have music 7 days a week, I probably would. But there is a saying that's known in AA, and I had a friend of mine call me out on this one time, and it was if you sit in a barber shop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut.
Yep.
So, meaning if you sit at a bar long enough, someday you might just say, hey, give me a drink. And I told that friend, I said, listen, I'm not going and sitting at a bar. I don't do that. Like my friends will want to go sit at a bar and watch a sports game. I might do that for a minute, but I'm not sitting at a bar. I'm there dancing. So I'm not really paying attention to the bar part of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with this friend that said this to me actually has relapsed 3 times. And I'm
Well,
like, okay, you know, but and I get it. But here's through all of this journey that I've been on through my sobriety, I've had to use tools too, right? If I'm at a bar, I really have no desire to drink, but let's just say I was somewhere that I felt uncomfortable. How
yeah.
I take myself out of that place.
Mm.
Whether
Mm.
I drove or I didn't drive, I will find a way to get out of that place because I don't ever want and I can be places that it's like a party or something that I went to for a birthday or something, and everybody's kind of getting really wasted and stuff, and I'm like, I gotta go. I can't. You guys are
Mm.
all being therapy for me right now.
Oh God. Tam, I gotta ask you a question right quick.
Yeah.
Because the number one reason people relapse is one bad moment. Can
Mm.
you go back and remember that one bad moment you had to like say, I'm not doing that? Because maybe that would help somebody out in the future. It's because usually that one bad moment, like a argument or something like that, after they quit drinking. Like walk me back to that one.
So, you know, I talk about this a lot too because I've had a lot of bad moments in my sobriety. I've lost a lot of people that were very
Yes.
close to me in my sobriety. And I would have to say that the toughest one would have been 8 years of my sobriety, almost 8 years of my sobriety. And my son has a half brother and a half sister. And they're like my bonus kids. They've been my bonus kids since Nicholas was 18 months old and Heather was about 3. And
Mm.
in 2012, which I was almost 8 years sober, we lost Nicholas in a single car drinking and driving accident.
Mm.
He was 26 years old and maybe 20. Yeah, he was either 25 or 26. And it was devastating. He was one of those people, his favorite song was Simple Man, and that's what he was. He would do anything for everybody. We always used to laugh because if you were moving, you'd call Nick and he'd come over in his blue Chevy truck, and he'd help anybody as much as he hated doing it. But he was just that person. Since he was little, you know, we talk about it with his grandma and grandpa and stuff. And even so, Heather, his sister, would be at the store and asking for everything. And Nick, you could give him a little twig and he would be the happiest in the world. And so in 2012, I woke up to a phone call that he was killed in a single car drinking and driving accident. And I had to tell my son this. And Chad was, so if Nick was 25, Chad was 21 because they were 4 years and 4 days apart. And if there was a time that I could have used an excuse, that would have been it. And I remember Lou, and I'm big on too that I believe that the enemy will try to attack you when you're down.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dream 2 days after Nick was passed away, and it was Nick and I were at a bar in Toledo or in Detroit. Nick and I never drank together because he wasn't old enough when I quit drinking, and
Mm-hmm.
we were at a bar, and I remember him saying to me, he had me this big margarita, and he's like, drink it. It's okay. It was either margarita or martini. I don't remember which one, but drink it, Tammy. It's okay. They'll understand. And I never comprehended that dream. Like, I woke up like, well, that was a weird dream to have, right? I had no
Yeah.
dream. But later in life, I thought about it. And that was when I was down, that was the enemy trying to say, if you drank right now, everybody would understand. It would be okay. Because you have those people that will say to you, I get it. I understand why you started again. No, it doesn't work like that. Because if I would have started drinking again, what good was I again to Chad? Or what good am I to anybody? I'm not. Because I'm going to weighing 85 pounds and probably not make it this time. So those hardships are hard, and those excuses can come real easy. You know, my mom died in 2020. That was horrible. I sat next to her as she died. I could have easily again been like, yep, you're right. Why should I quit drinking, keep drinking, not drinking now? I can drown my sorrows. What, it doesn't do me any good. But you have to have those, you have to use the tools throughout life. And for me, you know, uh, like I said, I depend on God through everything, right? He's my faith. He's everything to me. And he shows up all the time in my life. And
So you're saying that your faith is your biggest support system.
oh, 100%. God's my 100% biggest support. 100%.
Besides your faith, was there anybody or people that was good support system, or it was just strictly your faith that got you through it?
I would say my faith, but through my faith, I've met a lot of people that are like really good support people.
Got
So
it.
yeah, for sure.
Got it. So you went through all. Now let's get into. I'm waiting. I gotta hear about what was the moment you said I'm going to start, because I know you said you started with blogging first.
Right. Yep.
So what was that moment? And let's lead up to Hope helping other people evolve, which explain it, talk about the concept, because it's helped many, many people, ladies and gentlemen. It has helped me up and down, because I'll tell you the truth, I tell her this all the time. I would not be here right now recording this with this beautiful woman right here if she did not have this podcast. Take it away.
And I forgot to bring my tissues with me right over here. So, anyways, so probably I'd have to say it was about 2018, 19. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start a blog. I think people were blogging more then and stuff like that. And I had no idea what I was gonna do, and I didn't know what it was gonna be called. And there was a local group here. It's called Team Recovery, and they were doing an event, and it was kind of a morbid event, but they invited me to be in the film, and we were at a funeral home, and there was a casket, and it had empty liquor bottles and syringes and all of the things in it, and we all walked past it, and then they took it and they actually put it in a hearse, and basically it was showing you like this is what's going to happen. The group's called Team. So we did this. We did this video. Yeah, it was crazy, but it's true. It's really true. I mean, look, if you look at the statistics of what nowadays, like we know with the fentanyl, I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's what happens. You know,
That's a realistic view right there.
or realistic view for sure. And it's the first time I met like at least six of these people that are still in my life that are really good friends. Actually, probably four of them have been on my podcast. But so anyways, afterwards, I was talking to some people, a couple of people that had lost children. The next day was Overdose Awareness Day, so it would have been in August of 19, I think it was, or 18. And the one lady said, okay, well, we're going to share our stories about losing our children, but who's going to share about hope? And I was just standing there. I was like, hope, that's the word. That's the word I'm going to use for my blog. And the one guy, Juan, they said Juan's going to share his story. And actually, Juan was the first person that I interviewed live, was Juan. And so I left that event, and I knew the next day I was going to the overdose awareness event parade thing that we had with everybody's pictures and stuff. But I was driving home, and I'm like, hope. helping other people. And I'm driving home about a 10-minute drive home, and I kept hearing evolve. And I'm like, nah, I don't like that word. So I'm like, helping other people. And I hear evolve. And I'm like, no, right? So I get home and I pull in my driveway and I called my good friend Lori, who knew I was doing my blog. I said, Lori, I got the name of my blog. And she's like, I can't wait for people to hear how you evolved. Swear to God. That's what she said to me. And I was like, oh, this is the word, God. I got it, right? Get it through your thick skull. I want you to say evolve. So that's how the blog started. And I did a little bit, I messed around with it a little bit for about a year and a half. Just, there's not a lot of posts, just here and there, right? Because at that point, Lou, honestly, I didn't really believe in myself enough. I felt like, yeah, maybe somebody will read it, maybe they won't, right? I was kind of like just starting to really share my story more. And then I decided, let's do a podcast. Voices are good to hear, right? Because they podcast started to really come out then. And that was so I was going to start my podcast in 2020. I was going to start it on March 9th of 2020, my sobriety date. So I would have been sober 16 years that year, I guess. 16 years. So I'm going to start it. Like I bought my little laptop, I'm getting ready. And, February comes, January comes, and Kobe and Gianna die in a helicopter crash, which was devastating for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not a big basketball person, but my son was a big Kobe fan. I think that hurt the whole world's heart, right? Yeah. And so then in February of 2020, on Valentine's Day, my best friend took a Percocet, and it ended up having fentanyl, and he died. So I didn't start my podcast in 2020. After Josh passed away, I just didn't even know if I could even do it, because so for a while I had a hard time with this, and this is something I think I don't share very often, but he was my best friend. I have a sister who's an active alcoholic. I have a niece who's an active heroin addict. I have another niece that overdosed, that has brain trauma injury. She's still alive, thank God, but she is. I have another niece that's on methadone. So how can I help people in my own family I can't help? And so when Josh passed away, it was like, why did he reach out to me that he was hurting again? Because he'd been clean and sober for 6 years at least. And so I had a hard time then. Like, how am I going to start this podcast and help people when I can't even help the ones that are closest to me? So I didn't start my podcast that year. That year was hard for everybody, COVID, right? A hard year, no matter what, whether it was just you were sitting in your house locked up, whether you lost people, whatever it was. April 3rd of that year, my good friend in Arizona was shot and killed by her husband. He shot her 14 times in her car. She has 4 beautiful children. They had 4 beautiful children. I couldn't be there for my friends in Arizona. There was so much going on in my mind. Like, how can I help people when these things are happening? And I feel like I'm not doing anything. So I decided then, fast forward, we went to Christie's Celebration of Life in California in the end of July, beginning of July, I guess it was. And then I came home, and my mom ended up in the hospital, and then she ended up getting COVID in the hospital 3 weeks after being in the hospital. And then I lost her in August. That to me was time for Tammy to figure out what she's going to do. Either you're going to not do a podcast and just live your life, or you're going to get out there and start helping people like God intended you to do. I have a story of hope. I have a story of struggles to strength. And I know there's so many other people out there that have it. And I know there's so many other people that are out there struggling and think they're all alone. And I packed my stuff and I moved to Arizona in the beginning of 21, in February. And I was bound and determined March 9th, I was starting my podcast. And the funny story is the funny thing is I feel like when I talked about the enemy trying to always stop you from doing good things, we were in San Diego on my sobriety, right? And I'm with my friends, and I'm like, you guys have to go somewhere because I'm launching my podcast. Like, you guys have to go. So they did. They went to In-N-Out Burger. I'll never forget it. And I recorded my very first podcast, and I they came back and they all listened to it and they all laughed at me because I had to re-record it. But anyways, but I was not determined that I was not going to not do it because I promised myself, I let 2020 stop me. I really did. It didn't have to stop me. I let it stop me. And I thought there's nothing going to stop me from doing it now. And there's nothing that stopped me since then. There's been times that I've had breaks that I didn't do like I should, like keep going, keep going, keep going. But I've never stopped. My last episode was my number 135th episode. And it just is evolving, and it's what it's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to help other people evolve. And I sit here and and I know you tell me when you call me to tell me, and you're like, I know you're sick of hearing this, and I'm not ever sick of hearing it. It's just hard for me because I know that I'm out there helping people, period. I know that. I hear that. I see it. And I guess that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I need to embrace it more and be okay with that I help people. Because that's what
You want to hear something new?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep.
You said earlier you did not believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Remember when we first recorded my first podcast, it didn't record?
Oh, yeah.
And we had to do it again?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember this. You might not remember this. I remember I called you up and I was having self-doubts about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you was like, listen. And you just said those 3 words, just believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you said. This was after my third episode when I was having problems with some shit. I forgot what it was. And you just said believe in yourself. Now that's something new. You didn't know. I was saving it for this moment here. And when you said you didn't believe in yourself, it reminded me at a time I didn't believe in myself when I first started this.
Mm-hmm.
And you said just believe in yourself. It's how way you said it. And this is what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. When this young lady says, when she talks with passion. She lets people, you can feel her energy. See, a lot of people, like, you see other maybe I shouldn't put shade on other podcasters, but fuck it. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want. I mean, you don't feel their energy.
Uh-huh.
It's like they just want to get the content out and that's it, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I got this platform. Let me just get through this on my checklist and I don't give a shit. Let me just get my check.
Mm-hmm.
This young lady taught me how to be passionate. Well, not really taught me because I was passionate already. But I learned from her because she cares. If you go on her podcast, which I'm going to let her keep on talking about it, you will see the passion, the dedication, the love. And that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it differently because I'm all over the place. I want to do all those. You asked me why you want to do that. I say because I want difference. I want to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and when I said that, I think it was like 2 weeks later, I went through this little shit and you said, just believe in yourself. And that's what you did. I'm sorry. Continue, young lady.
No, that's great. Thank you for telling me that. And it's true because so many things from the outside will try to shut us down, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's somebody, we have people in our lives that are friends, family, or whatever, that are the closest to us that are our worst enemies, right?
Yes.
They see us leveling up or doing better, and they'll try to bring you down to be at their level. And that's why. It's not because, I guess it'd be a jealousy thing, you'd have to say, right? I've lost a lot of people that I thought were good friends only because I was leveling up and they didn't like that. So they felt less than, which are not less than in my eyes. I don't think anybody's less than. I think that we get up in the morning, we all put our pants on, make our day. I don't look at like, you have $1 million, so you're better than me. And I don't look at you're living on the street, so you're worse than me. No, we're all human beings with hearts that pound, that have feelings. You listen to Rory when I interviewed Rory, and he talked about how people look at homeless people, right? Remember him about that?
I love that episode. Loved it.
It gave me a whole different perspective on homeless people, right? I've been homeless, so I get it. I never was homeless that I was asking people for anything, but I've been homeless. And for him to say that people look at him, they know that, they stink. They know that their hair is greasy. They know that they're going to ask for money, right? So you look at them differently, but we don't know the circumstances of how they got there. We are 1 second away from the same thing,
Yes.
it can be taken from us in an instant. So when I talk about my passion for people, and it's just naturally there, but I don't let people bring me down anymore. I don't let somebody say, well, that was dumb or whatever. I don't I'm who I am now, and I believe in myself, and I believe that I was put on this earth for a purpose, and my purpose is to be the light to other people and bring light to other people and show other people that we can get through these struggles and we can get to a strength. And not that I'm at a great strength, but I'm at a good place right now, you know?
Tammy, can you give some examples so you let everybody know, right, what type of platform you have when you're helping people, and how and what type of story? Give examples of stories that brought to your platform.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's funny because my son's always like, I'll meet people randomly, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I can probably be on your podcast." So I use this example. I love this example. I was in Vegas at a reggae festival, right? So like I said too, when we were talking about like me dancing and stuff like that, right? Here I am at a reggae festival, and when you were talking to about me being in the bars like that, it's funny because I want to just this little clip. I work at a bar. I bartended at the golf course that I started my alcoholism at. Basically, I'm back
Yep.
again, and it just people are like, wait, what? Because they'll be like, what does you think that tastes like? I'm like, I don't know, I've been sober 20 and a half years. And they're like, and you bartend? I'm like, shit, this is where I started drinking at. But I just like being around people. But anyways, so I'm at this reggae festival, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I did catch a contact buzz when I was at that reggae festival. I drank a one of my Activate energy drinks that I have with the product that I promote, and because I was like, I told my friend Paul, I'm like, I feel really funny right now. And I drank it. I thought I was tired. I'm like, now I'm really hungry. She's like, oh good lord, because that was just like a whole ball of nothing but pot. So anyway. I'm at this reggae festival, and this little boy comes up, and he's only about 2, and he's dancing with me, right? Because you said that, like, I do give off that energy. I give off good energy. My vibe's really good. And so this little boy, kids just love me. Like, I'll be at a store and they just do this, like to me, and I'm like, never waved at anybody. I'm like, I don't know. That maybe it's my smile. But anyways, so he's dancing with me, and his mom and dad are over here, and the dad's got dreads and in his reggae gear, and his wife is, and the dad had a camera, and he's like, you care if I take pictures of you too? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Go ahead. And so afterwards, I started talking to him, and his name's Marvin. And we're talking, and he's asking me a little bit about podcasting because I told him I had a podcast. And then he's like, you know what, Tammy? I could probably be on your podcast. I'm like, really? He's like, yes. He's like, November 1st, this was October. He's like, November 1st will be 10 years since I've been out of prison. I was like, oh. He's like, yeah, I was in 25 years for murder. He's like, he was either a Crip or a Blood. I can't remember which now. And he 18, and the next day he's shot and killed a 17-year-old, which later to find out they used to play on the playground together because his aunt and the mom were really good friends. Wow. So anyways, Marvin ended up being on my podcast. Actually, he's coming back again within the week. But my son was like, of course the guy didn't work a 9-to-5 job, Mom. It doesn't work like that in your world. And so I had Marvin's story. And most of the people who on my podcast, I'd only say that 10% I knew before I started my podcast. Everybody else has been like someone like you that I was following on TikTok, and then I see something and then I reach out. And it's just been, I've had stories of people that are recovering. I've had people that have lost children to addiction. I've had people that I've interviewed 2 people that have murdered people. I mean, that have changed their life around. My one friend, Toriano, he served 35 years for murder and attempted murder. And now him and his wife are senior pastors at a church in the town an hour away.
Whoa.
I've interviewed my gym trainer.
Mm-hmm.
He was on my podcast. I 18 years old. He went to prison for armed robbery and assault, and he got 16 years. And the kid had never done anything wrong in his life. And he came out and he's changing this city. Like, he's working with the inner city kids, and he's all about that. So I've had him on there. We had an officer that was killed here in 2000. And his wife Jamie was on my podcast, and just, just all different stories of hope. I have people that have suffered from depression. I have people with grief. There's just so many stories out there, and they're all great. And it's just so people that you're not alone in your struggle. And I say that, like, my story, your story might not be the same as what they're dealing with, but they also can look at their whatever they're struggling with and be like, oh, wait, Luke got through that. And he's still going, and he's still working on himself. I can
Yep.
my day. And just to help somebody get through their day, that's the first step.
Well, you got me through everything to where I'm at today, which I put a lot of pride and effort in. I go balls to wall on this damn podcast of
I
mine.
do, and I love it. I love it.
But I have a question for you. You never brought this up. I had to do my little Scooby Doo Blues Clues investigation on this one.
Uh-oh.
And I'm very kind of like, I don't know what to say, but in 2022, you published a book called Turning Points.
Yeah. I have a chapter in the book.
But you never told me about it. And also available on Amazon.
Hold on.
There you go. But available on Amazon.
Look, right here.
Yep. Faith, failure, success.
Yep, right here.
And you did it. You did this with 4 other people.
Yep.
Yep. And you did that. Like, so what was your chapter about in that book?
My chat. Well, let's see what I'll tell you what it was called. The Turning Point of Recovery is what it was about, and it was about a little bit about my story of how I was an alcoholic and how I became sober. So yeah, that's what my chapter is about.
Available on Amazon.
And so this is volume 3, volume 1, and volume 2. I have quotes in those 2.
You never talked to me about this. I am very disappointed.
I'm sorry. You know what? The thing is that it published and everything like that, and then it started coming up in my time hop, and I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about it. I actually ordered this one just about a month ago because I put my copies away, and then I forgot about it. It came up, and I was like, well, shoot, I forgot about that.
I forgive you.
Thank you for forgiving.
But one last thing I want to talk about, and I want you to talk about this, is your night of hope. What's it about? Where you came about it? I know it's a good thing right there, but I want you to explain to everybody about Night of Hope.
Okay. So, I was at an event. It was called Acoustic Vibes with Nate Hicks. Okay. So I do a lot of things by myself because I know that I'm going to meet somebody anyway. So it doesn't bother me to go do things by myself. So it's across my Facebook, and I didn't know one single person that was going, but I was like, I'm going to go check this out. And so I go to it's called the Funny Bone. It's a little comedy place here in Toledo. I go there. It's right around Christmas time because I went and sat on Santa's lap right afterwards. I got my picture. But anyway.
Never mind. I'll talk to you later about that shit. Go ahead.
Mrs. Claus was there. It was all good.
Okay. Go ahead.
I go to this night, and I'm like, okay, God, you're just going to sit me at a table with somebody that could probably be on my podcast. Actually, 3 people from that event were on my podcast. 4 people from that event were on my podcast. So it was music, mostly music and poetry, and it was just really cool, and the vibes were really good. And so I left there, and I thought, now why can't I do something like that and call it a night of hope and just interview people live? But I have to have a purpose with it. So what I decided to do is I had my first night of hope. My trainer DeAndre was there. A friend of mine who lost her 2 daughters to overdose, and she has a nonprofit called Not in Vain. She was there. And then my other friend who went on this weight loss journey was there. And then I had Nate Hicks, the guy that inspired me, sing for us. And so I did this in an art gallery. And what I did is I got donations from different gyms and restaurants and things in the city. And then we raffled those off. and I did a 50-50 raffle. And then the money I made, that time I went to two nonprofits. I went to the Not in Vain and I went to a men's recovery house here in Toledo that you don't have to have insurance and they never deny anybody. And so I raised like, I think $200 for each, so like $400. But through, and then the lady that has the, hold on, let me find a good one here. The lady that had the Not in Vain for losing her daughters, she bought these Hope Rocks and she passed them out at the end.
Oh,
Oh, cool. So now I carry Hope Rocks in my purse. So if I get like a feeling about somebody, I'll walk up to them and give it to them and just let them know that there's always hope.
wait a
So,
minute. I didn't get one.
well, I haven't seen you in person yet,
Well,
Lou.
I want to see. I want one.
Well,
I'm coming to. I'm coming to Ohio anyway, so I'm definitely stopping by. Oh, that's right. Yeah, but
one day in life, we're going to meet in person and you will get your Hope Rock. Or I can,
damn right. Let's do it. Go ahead.
or else I can mail you one, whichever one you want.
Either way.
So anyway, so we did that night, right? And it was so like people were like calling me like, when is the next one? That was so good. I loved it, right? So I did another one around Christmas time with the guy that has the church in Findlay. He's a senior.
Yeah.
Him and his wife do women prison or prison ministry. So what we did is we called it a night of hope or Toys for Hope. Toys for Hope? I think that's what we call it.
Okay.
But anyways, we collected toys. We got 4 great big boxes of toys for incarcerated men and women's children. And then
Wow.
also able to get enough money to buy 1,000 pairs of gloves and 1,000 hats for the women in prison. And then
Wow.
our stories that night, Toriano did and I did. And so that was good. And then back in June again this year, we did another one. And it was for 4 moms that had lost their children to gun violence here in the city.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
And so we did that, and I'm working on doing them in different cities too. It's just kind of right now I'm doing like so many different things. I got to focus on one. I got to get my book written is what I really need to focus on.
Yes, I can't wait for you to finish that.
Yeah, the Nights of Hope have been a blessing because people get to hear their stories. They get to share their stories. And I know, Lou, that's been, people ask me what my favorite thing about Hope is. Okay, first and foremost, I love the fact that somebody like you, we're going to use you for the example, was able to share your story and it helped you, right? Because I always say, as long as it helps one person, well, little did I know that that one person could be the person that I'm interviewing. I didn't know that. And you've told me that. My friend Keith has told me that. And I've had like 3 other people tell me that. So that is the best for me, honestly, is when somebody has a platform to actually share their story. Actually, to have somebody listen and know that you're going to be okay. And I guess I'm kind of that person that sits there and tells you you're going to be okay. You'll get through this, right? And then when I get the phone call from somebody that says, "Man, I needed to hear that today. I needed to hear that story today." That all of it to me is just goodness. That's it. That's all it
I
is.
told you. I told you you are the hope branch. And you drop a little seeds off the people and it grows and goes off and on and on and on. Because again, I'm gonna tell you this again and again. I'm gonna tell you this again in front of everybody. She put me on, so then I'm trying to do my thing and it's helped other people too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't forget now,
Oh
your
yeah,
story helped save a woman's life.
right. That's true.
Okay, a woman randomly saw your story, gave up on her sister, decided to go check up on her sister.
Right.
She found her there of like alcohol poison and all like that. And the doctor said they didn't find her, she would have died.
Yep.
This is what you do.
Hmm.
This is you right here. Tammy, I'm gonna wind this down. I'm gonna give you the last message. But like I said, I got my little game for you. This is a new one. It's only 5 questions plus a something very new. I made up for you. I'm
Oh.
gonna ask you a ridiculous question as well too. You're gonna love that because you know I like to ask you dumb questions and shit.
Oh.
Oh, it's gonna be crazy. I cannot wait to ask you that shit. I
If anybody knew right now, though, the conversations that we have, so I know what you.
no, I'm not gonna ask no that shit. Okay, I'm gonna ask you the first question. It's
Okay.
easy. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
The weirdest thing I've ever eaten?
Yes.
Oh, I don't really know.
Gotta be something.
I don't know. Um, I don't really know. I mean,
Octopus, bear, cat,
not
dog.
ostrich.
Ugh. Oh, God. Now you can eat those things?
I think it was an ostrich, or maybe it was an emu, whatever they are.
You ate an emu? Oh my God. Tam. Seriously.
I ate an ostrich egg.
Oh, that's a weird thing. Okay. Let's get to number 2. What's a hidden talent no one knows about you?
Oh,
Ah.
I don't think I have one. I think everybody knows everything about me. I don't have any like
You
hidden.
have a hidden talent?
I don't think so. No,
Really?
I don't really think so.
Wow.
I don't really know.
Here go a good one for you.
I never.
What moment in your life would you like to experience one more time?
Well, of course, that would be having my son again. I mean, that's just plain and simple. That for sure. Um, there's lots of moments though that I have enjoyed that I would go back to, like vacation, the ocean, the beach, zip lining. There's all kinds of things.
Okay. I got 2 more for you.
Okay.
If you could learn one skill instantly, what would it be?
One skill instantly. I'd like to be an artist.
Really?
Yeah, because I can only draw stick people. Yeah.
You know what? I wouldn't doubt it. Last one. Last one.
Okay.
What one word best describes your past?
Shit.
You know what? I'm going to rephrase that one. You know what? Drop that one. Drop that one. Drop that one. Drop that one. I'm going to ask you something I'm curious about.
Okay.
I'm not even on these questions.
Deep breath.
If you can ask Tammy one question, the future Tammy one question, 5 years from now, what would you ask her?
5 years from now.
From 5 years from now, the 5-year future Tammy, what question would you ask her?
Oh, I'm trying to think
Mm.
of the best way that I want to phrase it. Honestly, why did I procrastinate so much about things?
Okay.
That would be a good question.
Okay. Now it's time for the main event question. You're
Oh,
gonna love this shit. Oh, this is gonna be awesome.
God.
You ready? Okay. Can you name 3 consecutive days without using the words Wednesday, Friday, Sunday?
Can't use what ones? Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday?
Yep. 3 consecutive days. Can you name them?
Any day, today, Monday.
You say any day. No. Well, the answer is yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Well, I was close.
I,
Oh,
I should know.
I didn't have
I
that
should know.
day. I got it.
Oh my God. Tam, my diamond. You know, I give everybody the last word, but I want you to have a special last word. I want you to give a hope last word to people who are watching. out there today? Just a message of hope, because you have a great podcast called Helping Other People Evolve. Also, I want you to tell them where they can find you, how to subscribe and download, ladies and gentlemen. Please download. She needs downloads. I want to give you the last message, the last platform today. Go ahead, man.
Thanks. So, well, first and foremost, Lou, thank you so much for this. I truly appreciate it. I love you, and I'm so blessed that God put you in my life 100.
Yes.
And so, I just want people to, I've really been focusing on this a lot lately. Man, live your life. Live your life. Life is short. It can change in an instant. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that death happened. Things can happen. You could lose your job. You hurt your thumb, right? You were off work for a while, right?
Yep.
Just one little thing. I have a friend of mine that she just took a step at the beach. Her one leg got stuck, the other leg twisted. She ended up having to have reconstructive surgery on her knee. Life can change in an instant. And I think the more that I've lived this past year, especially learning that we have to live life and do the things, man. Don't hang on to, I get we have to have money and a little cushion, right? But just live life and be happy and have fun and make memories. I almost lost my son back in April. We didn't really talk about this, but I'm going to end it with this because this was insanity, almost to the point that I really thought that I was going to have to bury another child. My son went to the NFL draft with his friends and his sister. He fell. He got a little cut on his eye drinking, missed the step. Not a big deal. He called me on Friday night. It happened on Thursday. I was dog sitting. He's like, Mom, I'm probably going to come home with a black eye. Way to go, Chad. Proud of you. That's kind of what I said to him, right? Saturday morning, I'm at work and I go over to my phone. I usually have my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I have like 25 text messages, 30 missed calls. I'm like, what is happening? Right? So I click on Chad and I get this picture of his eye all swollen. And I'm like, man, you better get to the hospital. He's like, Heather, his half sister, she's taking me right now, but I need you to pick me up because she's got to go to Jackson's baseball game, which was an hour and a half away. I'm like, that's fine. I'll pick you up. It looks like you got cellulitis in your eye. The next phone call is, Mom, are you on your way? Because you don't have to hurry because they're keeping me overnight for observation. And I'm like, I'm on my way. And he was in Detroit, which was about an hour drive. I was 10 minutes from the hospital and I get another phone call from him. He's like, they're going to put me in ICU for a few days for observation. I'm like, man, I'm almost there. I'm like, what is happening? I get in this hospital in the ICU and his eye looks like there's a baseball in it. His whole face is swollen. His throat's swollen. He's got a fever of 102.7. He's sepsis. Like, what is going on? They got dots around his eye, constantly watching him. I'm on the phone with a friend of mine who's a nurse, and they came out and got me, and they're like, we have to take him to surgery now. This is life or death, and he's probably going to lose his eye. I'm like, what in the last 24 hours happened? Right? So he goes into 2.5 hour surgery. They put in drain tubes. They do a culture. He comes out on a ventilator because his esophagus and his vocal cords are so swollen. So he's awake through all this. So anyways, this is a timeline of 24 hours, like insanity. Lost my child again and another child. And through all of it, I did have complete faith after the surgery that he was going to be okay because I had so many people praying and everything. But it was a reminder to me that, man, life is short. It can change instantly. He was in ICU for 12 days, the hospital for 15 days, 3 surgeries, off work for 8 weeks. And I was blessed to be able to help pay his bills. But at the same time, I'm not going to stop living life because something might happen like that. Because life's going to happen and it can happen like that. So if we're not out enjoying it, and I know that you're in a happy place right now, and I'm so happy for that. But you could have stopped yourself, right? You could have sat back and just said, you know what? Why? Right? Live life, people. I say this too, and I just said this to somebody the other day. Stop watching the news. Stop watching the news. Please stop watching the news. We can be aware of everything that's happening. There's a lot happening in this world, and I get it. There's a lot going on, and an election's coming up, so you're hearing this, and people are being put against each other. That's what the media is doing. That's what this world is doing. But there's so much good out there. There's Lou's podcast. There's my podcast. There's good people out there. There's people that are doing so much good in this world. They don't show us that because that doesn't bring in the people. The people would rather
Yes.
yes. So live your life, stop watching the news, try to wake up happy every day. Think of one thing you're happy for. If you can't figure it out, if you're thinking, guess what? You should be happy because you're able to think. Honestly, right? There's so many things that we take for granted. You know, I look around my house and I'm like, I'm blessed to have a roof over my head. So that's kind of my last words. Like, live life, try to be happy. You can get through these struggles. I promise you. You know, I life's people are going to leave us. Maybe they'll leave us just because the friendship's over or something happened, or maybe leave us and go to whatever place that is that you believe. And it's okay. Hang on to the memories of them. They don't want us to be sad and miserable. They want us to be happy. They'll show you signs that they're around. You'll see them. Just live your life and be the best that you can be and be the happiest that you can be. Because we only get this time on earth for a minute. So that's it. Oh,
Tammy,
where to find
again, my diamond, my Tam Tam. Thank you so much for coming on. You know, oh my God. Yeah, man, you know how much you mean to me.
you?
You know, like I said, she put me on. I got bigger and better plans coming on. I'm striving. I'm loving this. I'm passionate about this. And this young lady helped me out big time. And I'm ever grateful. You always gonna be here with me, no matter what happens. I got you.
Thank
You
you.
always gonna be you my diamonds. I always tell you that already.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Hello, my name is Tammy Lyn Connors. So blessed to be on Lou's podcast. It was amazing. But I wanted to tell you where you can find mine. So I'm on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, and it's Hope, helping other people evolve. You have to put in the periods, a little difficult. H period, O period, P period, E period. And you'll see a picture of me walking by the river. Also, you can find me on YouTube, and I also have a Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and those are all my name, Tammy Lyn Connors. Tammy, Tammy, Lyn, Lyn, Connors, Connors. I look forward to seeing your feedback and seeing the likes and comments and the follows. And once again, Lou, thank you for having me on. Let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching the show. Please like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned next week for another exciting episode on Let's Talk About It.